let's get down to the benefits. So we have basically a two-plan approach. We have a basic plan that has a $6,000 deductible and 40% co-insurance, which applies to some things. I'll go over that now. And we have a $6,500 gap insurance to cover that deductible entirely. And that's the reason why you see two numbers is because $6,500 is for inpatient and an additional $6,500 for outpatient services. So let me go line by line here, make sure that nobody has any questions. So if I go to an office visit, I'm going to have my $25 and my $75 co-payments there. The gap, I'm sorry, will not cover that. The 25 and the 75 co-payment is something that is one of the only two things that the gap doesn't cover. The other thing the gap doesn't cover is prescription drug co-pays that you have down here. Okay. So if I do go to an office visit though, there are certain things that are covered in the office if they're not included in the gap and they apply towards a deductible. For example, let's say I go to a dermatologist and they say, hey, George, I paid my $75, but now there's a mole and they want to know whether it's cancerous or not. So they're going to do a surgical procedure in the office. It's called a biopsy. That's going to be like $150, $200. That's going to apply to my $6,000 deductible. That $150, the gap will cover, but not the initial $75 copayment that you paid to see this dermatologist, just to use an example, okay? Now, if I'm feeling bad tomorrow, it's important for all of us to know how to use our benefits the most efficient way possible. And when I say that also analyzing what the insurance company has to pay for these appointments. So tomorrow I have a sore throat. I can actually do a virtual visit with a zero copayment, which means I can FaceTime a doctor and they will order my prescription. And all I have to do is go pick up my amoxicillin or my for my sore throat at the nearest pharmacy and then pay my copayment there. So I definitely want people using the virtual visits. They're very inexpensive on the insurance side. And I want our premiums to stay low so that we don't ever have to pass more costs onto the employee. Obviously, we want to have awesome benefits and we want to cover as much as possible. So if now I want to see a nurse practitioner or a doctor, I can use maybe the CVS Minute Clinics. There I have a $25 copayment. I actually see somebody face to face. Obviously, I'll take my prescription because there's a pharmacy at the CVS as well. And there's CVS, is an example, there's many Minute Clinics. Urgent care, $50 copayment. By the way, so the virtual visit's the cheapest. The mini clinic is a little bit more expensive because you're seeing a nurse practitioner face to face. The urgent care is the most expensive of the lower level emergencies, and then the emergency room, of course, is the most expensive. But if I do go to urgent care, there's a $50 copayment. The gap will cover those $50, so it ended up being a zero copayment. So most people say, George, why don't I just go to the urgent care and pay zero if I have to pay $25 at the Minute Clinic? Because the insurance company has to pay like $1,000 for an urgent care claim, which may be $300 for a Minute Clinic. And the higher the claims, the higher our rate increases, and we don't want any rate increases. So I just want you to hear what we experience on my side of the industry. So now I end up in emergency room. I have a $6,000 deductible and I have the $6,500 gap. So I don't have to worry about it. As long as I'm not going to emergency room every other week, you shouldn't ever have to pay anything at the emergency room. Okay. Just so you know, it says that there's a $6,000 deductible, but a contracted rate for an emergency room visit is like $3,000. So unless you go a third time, you probably won't pay a dime at the emergency room. And hopefully nobody's going 3 times to the emergency room because that means they have issues and we don't want that to happen. So now I go to a lab or I go to get an x-ray. Say I go to Quest or I go to LabCorp. They're notorious, even when you give them the gap, for not billing the guy. Okay. And that's the reason why we
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hello. I have a question. Can I stop you or I wait until the end?
No, you can ask a question. Sure.
Okay, so what is that 40? I just didn't get it. What is that 40%? So
Okay.
imagine that I go to the emergency room and I use whole 6,500 paying by Gap.
Yes.
So what is that 40%? Is paying by me, by out of pocket? What is it?
Okay, great question. I'm glad you asked it because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the same thing. So if I did not have the gap insurance and I just had this standalone plan and I went into, I'm going to talk about an inpatient hospitalization just for an example, and then I'll apply it to the emergency room. So let's say I go in and I'm in the hospital for 3 days, God forbid. My maximum out of pocket is $8,150. So if I had this plan by itself and no gap insurance, and I was in the hospital and I had $100,000 claim, my worst case scenario is $8,150. After that, United has to cover 100% thereafter. Okay. So, and by the way, how do we get this maximum out of pocket? You get it by the co-pays of the office visit, by the deductible, by the 40%. It all adds up to that annual out-of-pocket maximum. Okay. Now, if I have $6,500 in this same example, that means my worst case scenario would be $1,650 out of my pocket. I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting over that cold, so forgive me for coughing. Glad I'm on a Zoom and not coughing in anybody's surroundings. So if I have an $8,150 out of pocket and $6,500 is covered by the gap, that means the worst case scenario for the employee would be $1,650. And then United has to cover 100% thereafter. So the 40% co-insurance comes after the $6,000 deductible and would be paid by you if we didn't have the gap. But once you get to $8,150, then United covers 100%. So the reason why we did the $6,500 copayment is to make sure we covered all of the deductible and some of the co-insurance. But obviously it gets more and more expensive and we cover everything. So in the emergency room setting, if I go to the emergency room, you're going to have roughly a $3,000 bill because you're not going to eat the $6,000 with just one emergency room visit. And that's fully going to be covered by the gap because 3,000 is obviously less than 6,500. Does that help clarify a little bit?
Yeah, I think I understand. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, and remember,
I have one more question.
Sure.
So the 6,500, is it per category or is it 6,500 overall for the entire year?
It's okay. So no, it's great question again. 6,500 for the entire year. We just put it where it applies, as it doesn't apply everywhere.
Okay.
And by the way, I thought you were going to ask whether dependents. I'm not sure if anybody has any dependents, but if I add my dependent, then my dependent will also have a $6,500 gap as well. We don't want you to have to cover a big deductible for your dependent either. Okay, but the answer to the question is, so out of pockets are once a year. So I can once I hit that 8,150 and I go to an office visit, I won't even pay the 25 or the 75 because I hit my out of pocket. If I go to the pharmacy, I won't pay the 10 or the $35 either. So, so that's the way the gap works once a year because the out of pocket is only once a year. I see somebody raised a hand here. Did somebody else have a question?
Yes, Jorge, it's me, Rodolfo Cáceres. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Jorge, real quick, I understood that last year I had a gap, and I joined the gap scenario, but I had two experiences with insurance. One, I got ordered a MRI. I got to the facility or called the facility, and at the beginning they said that I didn't have to pay anything for it. Hours later, they called me and they said, no, you have to pay around $750 for an MRI. So I had to just like, cancel the appointment. And
Did
same thing.
Did they know you had a gap? Philip?
Yes. Well,
Okay,
at that,
so,
mhm.
go ahead.
At that point, the facility that is taking care of the MRI won't deal with the situation no more. They just tell me to call the insurance company. So I had to cancel the MRI appointment and try to reach out to the company.
Did you call
Another
us? Did you call us?
no,
Okay,
no.
so anybody on this Zoom call will never call the carrier direct, please, because this is what happens. You get misinformed. United doesn't know about the gap doesn't know about United. So if you call us and you're gonna have all of our contact information, we would have said, please give us the name of the provider. We would have called the provider on your behalf. We would have straightened out the situation because it sounds like maybe you were dealing with a new employee that wasn't familiar with this, because if there's one place that knows gap, it's MRI and diagnostic centers, because they receive it the most. And we don't really
Yeah.
have that many issues with them. We have more issues with the labs actually than we do with the diagnostic centers. So please, moving forward, and if you have
Mhm.
not gotten that MRI, I'll be happy to help you. By the
Thank
way,
you.
since we're talking about this now, let's say you would have paid the $700. I would have told you, Rodolfo, you're going to send me that claim. And even though it already happened, because it's been less than 12 months, I can still get you fully reimbursed for that, even if it didn't take it when you were using the services. Okay, so
Okay.
the whole idea of the gap is for you to have this card so we can pay the provider direct, so that the money never has to come out of your credit card or worry about a reimbursement. But you have some providers that sometimes will just give you an answer without really checking into it. So that's when you need to get us involved, please, to make
Okay.
sure that you have a better experience than the horrific one you just described.
Yeah, no, and the other situation was similar and equally negative because I got a program for a colonoscopy, which I'm a diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, whatever,
Okay,
and I have to have a colonoscopy done like annually, and same thing, went through the gastro, they programmed they scheduled the procedure and all that, and at the end it was going to be another 500 plus dollars to just get the procedure done, and again had to cancel it, had to postpone it for economical reasons, I guess.
well,
So
I
I don't
would,
know, my question on that, Jorge, is like, isn't that procedure considered like a routinary procedure, and
no, no.
is that covered under
Okay, so
any circumstances?
colonoscopy, preventive, yes. But if you have a diagnosis, then the answer
Mm-hmm.
is no. But a colonoscopy is an outpatient procedure, a surgery, and
Mm-hmm.
the gap fully covers it. So in that case, again, you need to call us because, wow, that's terrible. 0 for 2. So you weren't able to do any of those two things. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, definitely. Like, and I think the colonoscopy, I was able to, this is like a lot of time ahead that you don't have you don't get an appointment right away for that type of procedure. So I think I have postponed it for February or March next year. And
Okay.
but I'll call you and see
Well,
if I can resolve that.
did anyone in management maybe tell you, hey, there's a gap for this? Or because I would expect, I need Elena or Happiness or whoever to say, hey, it's not working the way you think it should. You heard what he said. You call him directly, and we're all fully bilingual here. So, if somebody feels better in Spanish, but we have a claims team dedicated to just that, because the bottom line is that insurance keeps getting more and more expensive. And the way
Mm-hmm.
that we're able to curtail some of these expenses is by increasing the deductibles on the main plan, which is the more expensive one, and filling it in with a gap. Every once in a while, we need to educate the people. But I will tell you that if I didn't have the gap and maybe just had a plan with a low deductible, the premiums would be far higher. And unfortunately, there might be more of a deduction. So we have the gap ourselves for our own employees. We have about 30 people. We're about the same size as you guys are. So please, I'm sad that I wasn't able to help you at that time, but anyone on this meeting needs to call us directly. You don't need to call management. We're an extension of the management team to make sure that all of the money that HBC is investing in all these benefits are actually creating a positive experience and not a negative one.
Okay, thank you, Jorge. I'll be calling.
All right, and if you have any pending bills, we do have a claims inbox that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. And definitely, if anybody has a bill that maybe wasn't paid earlier this year, definitely share it with us, and we'll do our best to get it straightened out for you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, so any other questions on the medical?
Yeah,
and
George.
gap?
Hey, George, this is Orlando. How you doing?
Hi, Fernando.
Yeah, basically, in our insurance, it's all the all saver, the medical and gap. We don't have the medical only. Let's concentrate on medical and gap.
Yeah.
And then for all over the year, I have 30,000 expenses on medical. What would be my copay or something like that? Because on the gap, they say that they cover 6,500, and their deductible is only 6,000. Do we have to pay anything?
You say the other two. I don't know what the other two is.
Yeah, you have two columns, one without gap and one with gap.
Oh, okay. So this
Our
is
benefit is medical and gap, is the last column only. If
no,
we
you
have the last
both,
column
you
with the
have
gap,
both together.
well, we both together, but
Yes. You have
suppose
two
I
ID
have,
cards.
yeah, but suppose I have 30,000 in expense.
Yes, perfect.
How much I need to pay?
Okay, so you have 30,000 in expense. The most you could pay on the insurance part is 8,150, and the gap would cover 6,500 of that. So the most you would pay would be the difference between those numbers, which, if I'm calculating correctly, is $1,650. After
Okay.
that, United has to cover 100% unlimited.
Okay, that includes laboratory and everything, because in my experience with this insurance, they don't cover most of the laboratory.
Okay, if you have
The
any
rest-
pending
The
lab
rest will
bills,
be covered after.
okay, so if you have any pending lab bills, Orlando, I would like for you to send them to us. I will tell you that there were, on the Transamerica side, there was a couple of scenarios where they were excluding specific things. Like you would go and do a regular test and they would say, hey, do you want me to check you for STDs? And you would say, yeah, and then they would charge you for it, and Transamerica wouldn't cover it. We've gotten all that overturned, and with a meeting with Transamerica, and if there's any pending bills that they haven't covered, I would like for you to please share it with us, because like I said, I think we can get you probably reimbursed. I'd like to speak more specifically on what it is before I give a
Yeah,
general
what happens is
I would love to help.
when you go to the lab, they ask for the credit card and they charge automatically. And sometimes we don't pay it and they send us to collection. That's the reason we need to pay it, because I call the insurance and try to deal with the copay, and the gap say no, we don't pay this code.
Okay. You've never called our office though, correct, Orlando?
Yeah, we never told us, hey, call the office. We call the number on the card.
Okay, no, I want you to call me, not the number on the card if this happens again, please. And if you have any pending bills, Orlando, I'll be happy to look at them after the meeting. And if there's anything that I can do to get you those reimbursements, I will definitely do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So please do not call United Healthcare. We're platinum producers with United. We don't speak to the same member services people that you do, so we can get stuff done a lot faster. And to United, you guys are going to be another number, where to us, you're a very important client. Okay? So please
So
give
can
us
you
an
share your
opportunity to
number in the chat?
I'm sorry?
Can you share your number or whatever number that you ask us to
It's
call
going to
in the
be-
chat?
It's going to be in the platform. Just so you know, it was right here. So this is me. I'm the owner of the company, okay? And we're gonna
Perfect.
have, when we get to you're gonna have all of this, by the way. But this is see this claims at FD National? If somebody gets a bill, like let's say Orlando gets the bill from the lab, he says, oh God, here we go again. I don't even want him calling anybody. I want him to just scan it and email it to me, or take a picture and email it to me. Because it's gonna be a lot easier for me to take care of it than for Orlando to get frustrated with it unnecessarily. So we do have a portal in our website, which you could just drop it in there as well. So you could either put it in our portal or email it to us. Either way, we're gonna take care of it, and we're gonna take care of it, not like United does, but the way it should be taken care of. Okay?
Jorge,
Thank you.
You're
hi,
very
Jorge.
welcome. Yeah,
I have a question regarding the medical and the gap, right? So does this cover physical therapy?
physical therapy, I believe, applies towards the deductible, and their contracted rate will be $50 or $60 per session. And the gap does not cover physical therapy.
Okay, that's fine. And then what about what would be the category for a psychologist? Would it be considered primary care or a specialist? Or would that be considered
a
therapy?
specialist? That would be considered a specialist. So you're gonna have a co-payment on one of these two co-payments. By the way, in the platform, we have the actual full benefit summary so this is the one I do for educational purposes, but there's one that's like 6 pages long, and that will be included in the platform. So if anyone wants to get into a little bit more detail, you'll find it there. And if anybody wants to ask questions also on a specific issue, we'll be happy to talk to them one-on-one about that.
Oh, okay, so basically, if I go to a psychologist, I will be paying $75 every time.
Yes, you will be paying $75. I'm not sure if it's the primary co-payment or the specialist co-payment, but I will find that out for you and before the end of this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
But it's definitely a co-pay, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're done with the medical. Are you guys, do we understand better now that our worst case scenario is the $1,650? United has to cover 100 because they cover 6,500 on the gap side of this out-of-pocket maximum. We now understand that. And if it doesn't work like that, you're going to be calling Financial Designs, not Transamerica, not United Healthcare. You're going to call us. Okay? So dental and vision. This is a review from last year. Same dental plan we had, dental PPO, which covers 100% of preventive services in network, 80% of basic services in network after a $50 deductible, and then 50% of major services. And there is no cap. So it's an unlimited plan. By the way, an example of basic services would be like a filling. A major services would be like a root canal or a crown. And this is actually one of the few dental plans that is unlimited in the marketplace. So a very good one. You can go out of network, but then the numbers are less percentage-wise. And also your dentist might charge a higher amount than what our contracted rate is. So it could actually be a higher amount out of pocket.
Yeah.
Just the 40% or the 20%. If say your dentist charges $200 for a cleaning and we pay $150, those $50 are your responsibility. So we encourage everybody to stay in network. That way you cannot get balance billed. Okay. The vision plan, which is the same one we had last year as well, is an eye exam, $10 for the eye exam every 12 months. If I got mine in November of last year, then I can't get it until November of the following year, from the date of the exam, those 12 months. You will pay $25 for the actual glasses, the glass that goes inside the frame. Does not include the bifocal and all that stuff. That's an additional charge. You get $175 for frames, which is a pretty high allowance. And just so you know, if you stay in network, you're going to get a big discount off the actual frame, which if I get a 40% discount off a $400 frame, and I end up paying like $220, but then they pay $175 of it, you'll probably get a $400 or $500 pair of glasses for $100, maybe 150. So we like the vision plan as well. And you can get either eyeglasses or contact lenses, but not both. Okay? Any questions on?
So I have yes, I have a question. For vision, what is the annual max? Is there an annual max?
No, it's basically you get $175 for frames. So obviously if you get
Okay.
$1,000 frame after our discount, then you're gonna pay the difference. But if you get, a Ray-Ban or something that's $400 or $400, they give you a $200 discount because you're going in network, so they have to give us these discounts. They're pre-negotiated. Then we give you the 175. Obviously, there's a very small difference between $200 and 175, although you still have to get the lens and, they're gonna sell you the little blue screen thing. They're always gonna sell you some stuff, but what I always say is a $400 pair of glasses will end up costing you about $150. And I think the premium for the vision is like $6 or $7 a month. So it makes sense if you use glasses. Okay.
Gotcha. And for material, I didn't really understand. So what is that $25 copay? Is
for
the
the
one that
glass.
I pay or?
No.
Yeah,
$25
I
is what you
understand. But
pay.
is it the one that I pay or
Yes,
the insurance pay?
You.
Okay,
You.
I pay. And imagine I'm gonna get the glass, which is $500. So what is it? Who pays the rest?
Okay, so first of all, if you go in network, the $500 is going to come down because we have contracted discounts on every single one of the items that are included in the glasses. But
Awesome.
so a regular glass, if you weren't me and you didn't need bifocals, you would just pay $25. But then if I want to add the non-glare, I'm going to pay the $25 plus the non-glare $30. So there's going to be additional things that are not going to be covered by the plan, but at least knowing that you're going to pay $25 for the glass instead of maybe $150 or $200, that also helps substantially.
Okay, so if
Please
it's
stay in
so
network.
progressive is not included, right? The progressive
No,
glass is for
No, you're preaching
no?
to the choir. I would
Okay.
progressive. Yeah. I don't know of any
Yeah.
vision plans that will pay the full progressive lens, unfortunately. Okay.
Okay, so if the glass is, let's say 100, I guess 100 is the rational, then the good number. So $100 is the glass the glass whatever price. So
Right.
I only pay 25
Yes.
or no?
Yes. You pay 25.
Okay.
United will pay the other 75.
75 that the insurance will pay.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
thanks.
Okay. So here we have the deductions. So employee only, employee and spouse, employee and children, and employee and family. Okay. Obviously, the more people that you add to the plan, the more expensive. All of this is deducted on a before tax basis. I do know that they cover a huge percentage on the HBC side. So these deductions would be a lot more if we weren't getting that subsidy from HBC. And then we have the dental PPO and the vision deductions here as well. If I add myself to the medical and I want to add my full family to the dental, I can. I don't need to add everybody to the medical. Okay. And by the way, we included here the links, which everybody will have this in their portal for the vision providers as well as the dental providers. Okay. So here is where you
So I
have
can
all-
buy only vision, for example. I don't want for example, I'm just asking if I want to buy only dental or only vision. Yeah.
You can waive off whatever you don't want. So if you want just medical and vision or just vision and no medical, you can do that as well.
Perfect. Okay.
You're going to be able to pick and choose whatever you want for yourself or any one of your dependents.
Yes. Yes, I understand. Thanks.
Great. Okay. So This is the portal we were talking. If you scan this, you'll have all of our contact information there. This is our website. This, as I said, is probably the most used inbox claims at FD National. And then a lot of people will go to the website and actually put it in the portal. Obviously, we get it that way as well. And then if you're having issues with anything, just call us. We don't have a problem talking to you and helping you. I know you don't want to talk to us. You got a lot better things to do. So that's why we have the inbox. But if there's something, let's say that you have an MRI and that you don't even have a bill, but I don't know why this happened. You don't even have a bill, but they're not authorizing. I want you to call me and tell me, because I'll call your orthopedic, find out if they've already sent the information to our authorization.
Not sure.
And then
Not sure.
if they have, and we're taking long, I will expedite it. If a lot of times they haven't sent what they say they have, and I'll get them to send it to expedite your MRI. Okay? So even if it's not a bill, you can still call us and we'll help you and answer any questions on any of this stuff, because it gets confusing after a while. Okay? By the way, if you've appreciated this presentation and everything we're trying to do to help you guys, and you want to leave us a Google review only after we do a great job for you, we would very much appreciate it.